Okay.
Hi everybody. My name, for those who have recently joined Educate4Life, I am Lars. Forget about my last name, it's long and complicated and Danish family name. I'm just Lars, please. Let's keep it informal, that's how I like it. I'm the initiator of this community and the sprint that we are kicking off today. And I have some personal reasons for doing it. So to me, it means a lot to see all of you on this call today. And it also means a lot to have everybody who's not here today watching this video as part of the rest of the process that we'll be going through together. And again, for those of you who don't know me or don't know me so much, I have a technical background, but in reality, I see myself as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who builds organizations for the benefit of humanity. And one of my superpowers, I guess, is to make these organizations exponential, to help these organizations impact the world positively and impact a lot of people's lives positively. So I found a niche for sure where I'm fulfilled and where I deliver value. I contribute. That's how I see it. And I have a personal, massive, transformative purpose. If you don't know what that means, you'll get to know it later. But my personal, massive, transformative purpose is resourcefulness for breakthroughs for every individual and team. So resourcefulness is in everybody. In our kids, they have a lot of it, and we have it as adults. Sometimes we forget it, and we are being made believe that we are not so resourceful. We have to stop that mindset, and we have to start helping each other, supporting each other in bringing the resourcefulness out. I hope my involvement and engagement in this community can help everybody who wants to amplify their resourcefulness. And you are all so welcome and so needed in what we're going to do in this community and in this sprint. And breakthroughs, I'm here to help everybody have breakthroughs as individuals and as teams. I will certainly do my best to deliver on this. So that was just a little bit about me. We are getting started in just a moment with a couple of introduction videos. But first, service information. We have our all-member chat open tonight, so feel free to stay in touch, to have a chat during the workshop here and also afterwards. Feel free to connect, feel free to run a discussion there, raise questions, and get connected, get to know each other. That's what a community is about. It's about connecting you to each other and helping you to see each other's resourcefulness and superpowers. And the better we get to know each other, the better we can create a new future of education. So feel free to stay connected in our all members chat in the online community and engage in conversations during the event. I want to begin also by saying big thank you to our sponsors who are making all of this possible. And it's not just about the money, it's also about opening the networks and offering so much support. First of all, a big thank you to Fast Track Institute, led by Jabin. And Jabin has been instrumental and an amazing support from the very beginning in so many ways. So I cannot thank Jabin and the team enough.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you for the opportunity.
Jabin, lovely to have you here. Wonderful. Also, I want to thank our other sponsors who also make a very big impact on the work we do. And now I'm being challenged by my limited Spanish, but A big thank you to our sponsor, Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana, and I hope that was a decent Spanish. They are providing an amazing sprint team to go through the sprint together with us to design the future of university. Very, very interesting. And they're also running an open innovation group where all of you are welcome to contribute and be part of this work. And then I want to say thank you to CX-Ray. CX-Ray is a world leader in organizational network analysis. And this is about mapping our learning network, the people that we can access, so we can all understand what does our network look like. Also the extended networks that we may not immediately know. We are actually mapping this network during this sprint and making this network information available to all of you. It was a big thank you to CX-Ray for offering their free consulting support and technology platform to make this happen. So this means a lot to us. Thank you to our sponsors. Now I want to open up the session today with a piece of music which I find very impactful, and there's some personal breakthrough in what we are about to see now for the children involved here, and some amazing experiences. So without further ado, I'm going to play a little video for you, and I'll see you in just a moment after this little session.
Can you imagine if you were at school and the teacher said, right, you're going to go on a show like Britain's Got Talent? I would have loved it.
Me too.
Right? But I wouldn't be able to stop laughing, I know that.
Hello.
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 Welcome to Britain's Got Talent.
Thank you.
So I'm guessing this is a school choir. What school are you?
Well, we are the choir of St Patrick's Junior Choir.
And whereabouts is St Patrick's School?
It's in County Down in Northern Ireland.
Fantastic. Welcome. Thank you for making the journey to see us. So, are you their music teacher?
Yes, I am. My name's Patricia McCahey.
Is she a nice teacher?
Yes.
You've got them well trained.
Can I ask you, why is your choir different from everything else we've seen before? What do you think?
We are unique because we have powerful voices and we make a very lovely tune.
Okay, guys, we're ready to be wowed. Take it away.
Thank you. Right. Beautiful. Okay.
I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. I felt the earth beneath my
Oh, Lars, I have tears in my eyes.
I'm back. Obviously, I had to play something else after the children's choir, right? Who can say a thing after that experience? Absolutely beautiful. Everything we do, really, I believe, is for the next generations, right? It's about investing in a better world, and what's better than investing in our children? As we saw in the children's choir here, it's absolutely an amazing miracle, and we have to do this for our next generations. I looked up the definition of what does education really mean. We use the word all the time, um, and I found these two different definitions. The first one, it kind of almost scared me away. The process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at a school or university, da, 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 right? Oh my God, right? Is that really what education? Then I'm not surprised about what we actually, many of us have experienced and still experience in many different school environments. I also saw another definition, an enlightening experience. It's an education to watch Petrus. That's a much better approach to education, in my opinion. So I'm very thankful that we have different definitions, but why wouldn't we just redefine education? Why wouldn't we just create a whole new generation of whatever education means? Let's give it a new meaning. I think we have a group of people together here who can do anything we want with this and make a huge impact for the future of it. education. So some are actually doing very well in our education systems, but many are not. And I know from personal experience and from studying a lot of data, turns out 1 out of 4 of all of us on this planet belongs in a certain category that is called non-neurotypical. And this can mean different things. There's a number of different cognitive diagnoses that belong in this category. I have a son who belongs in this category. He's a great learner, an excellent learner, but he couldn't thrive in a school environment. We tried for a couple of years. It was a living nightmare for everybody, for the school, for my son, for the parents. On this journey, I discovered that we are not the only ones who struggled. Actually, I met personally hundreds of families. They had various challenges, many of them because they were non-neurotypical, but others have other experiences that just where they couldn't fit into the existing school system. Even it's a public or private, I'm not distinguishing here. So I realized we have to do something about this. We have to create alternatives. We have to be able to offer something personalized. And there are so many other things that have to be done. And this community came together pretty much by itself, just by starting to talk about this. And you wonderful people joined. And here we are on our kickoff today of a 12-week sprint, which is just the beginning. It's just the first 12 weeks of the rest of our lives. And I'm very proud to have you all here to be part of this. We can make a difference. And if we had only listened to Lao Tzu, a long time ago, when he said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's not the experience I've had in many past years, but we should learn from this quote, I think, because there's a lot of truth in it, and we could design for this to happen, to get it back. Jack Ma says that only by changing education can our children compete with machines. So it's not only within ourselves and our own inner world, it's also the outer world that's challenging us, which is pushing us to change education. So if we didn't talk about enough reasons already, here are some additional ones and other reasons to why we have to take the lead on changing the way education is created and delivered and used.
There is a growing feeling today that something is wrong with our system of education. But
oh, sorry. I wanted to play a little video here again. Here it comes.
there is a growing feeling today that something is wrong with our system of education. But what is it? Well, we send our children to school to prepare them for the real world, which is changing very, very fast. But our schools haven't changed much for hundreds of years. In fact, thought leaders from around the world agree that the current system of education was designed in the industrial age mainly to churn out factory workers. And this industrial age mentality of mass production and mass control still runs deep in schools. Industrial age values. We educate children by batches and govern their lives by ringing bells. All day long, students do nothing but follow instructions. Sit down. Take out your books. Turn to page 40. Solve problem number 3. Stop talking. At school, you're rewarded for doing exactly what you're told. These are industrial age values that were really important for factory workers. Their success depended on following instructions and doing exactly what they were told. But in today's world, how far can you get by simply following instructions? The modern world values people who can be creative, who can communicate their ideas and collaborate with others. But our children don't get a chance to develop such skills in a system that's based on industrial age values. lack of autonomy and control. At school, our children experience a complete lack of autonomy and control. Every minute of a child's life is tightly controlled by the system. But in today's world, if you're doing important work, then you're managing your own time. You're making your own decisions regarding what to do and when to do it. But life at school looks very different. The system is sending a dangerous message to our children that they are not in charge of their own lives. They just have to follow whatever is laid down instead of taking charge and making the most of their lives. Experts believe autonomy is incredibly important for children. It's no wonder then that our children are bored and demotivated by school. Can you imagine how you would feel if you were told exactly what to do for every minute of your life? Inauthentic learning. Most of the learning that happens in schools today is not authentic because it relies on memorization and rote learning. The system defines a generic set of knowledge that all children must know. And then, every few months, we measure how much has been retained by administering exams. We know that such learning is not authentic because most of it is gone the day after the exam. Learning can be much deeper and more authentic. It can be so much more than just memorization and retention. But that's the only thing we measure, and test scores are the only thing we value. This has created an extremely unhealthy culture for students, parents and teachers. Children are going through endless hours of tuitions, staying up all night memorizing useless facts that they will forget very soon. No room for passions and interests. We have an extremely standardized system where each child must learn the same thing at the same time in the same way as everyone else. This doesn't respect the basic fact of being human, that each of us is unique and different in our own way. We all have different passions and interests. And the key to fulfillment in life is to find your passion. But do the schools of today help our children find and develop their passion? There seems to be no room in the current education system for the most important questions in a child's life. What am I good at? What do I want to do in life? How do I fit into this world? The system doesn't seem to care. There are so many greatly talented people who failed in the traditional school system. Fortunately, they were able to overcome these failures, but not everyone can. We have no measure for how much talent, how much potential goes unrecognized in the current system. Differences in how we learn. Each of us is also different in how we learn, in how much time we take to learn something, and what tools and resources work best for us. But the system has no room for such differences. So if you're a bit slow in learning something, you are considered a failure, when all you needed was a bit more time to catch up. Lecturing. In the current system, children are lectured for more than 5 hours a day. But there are a few big problems with lecturing. Sal Khan from Khan Academy calls lecturing a fundamentally dehumanizing experience. 30 kids with fingers on their lips, not allowed to interact with each other. Also, in any given classroom, different students are at different levels of understanding. Now, whatever the teacher does, there are bound to be students who are either bored because they are ahead or confused because they're behind. Because of the internet and digital media, our children have at their fingertips all the information in the world. Technology has made it possible for anyone to learn anything. But for fear of losing control, the system is not leveraging these incredible resources. Our system of education, which evolved in the industrial age, has become outdated and ineffective. If we want to prepare our children for the modern world, if we want learning to be effective and engaging, then there's no doubt that we need to fundamentally change our system of education.
We have to fundamentally change education. So that was a call to action, guys and girls. Fortunately, there are some important trends coming up. There are some technologies, there are some early movers that are showing us inspiring ways to actually make a change and make an impact. And I have a good friend and partner in crime who joined me here today. I'm in Bucharest, Romania, and we are sending from live tonight. So I have the pleasure of having Tianna from Future Station here with me to share with us some of the trends, and technologies and interesting case studies that we should know about. So to take us right into that, I'm going to hand over to Tianna to introduce herself and tell us about these trends. So Tianna, I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Is that okay?
Tianna, you're on mute.
Yeah, does it work now?
Oh, echo. Do you have headphones?
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Lars, for inviting me. I also value our friendship very much. My name is Tianna, as Lars mentioned before. I'm from Romania. I'm based in Bucharest. I aim to build a solid future strategy practice here. And indeed, the company that I'm part of, Future Station, aims to transform exponential changes to business opportunities for our clients. I'm an ambassador for Global Scanning Network of Copenhagen Future Study Institute. I'm part of the World Future Federation, but also part of the Foresight European Network. I did not calibrate my massive transformation purpose as much as Lars would have liked. However, I think that we can change the future by choosing to act or not on what happens to us today. And that means also doing something about the current education system, and maybe somehow send to Wikipedia another definition about what education stands for. I also have a almost 3 years old baby girl. And yeah, it would be great if she could enjoy a fruitful learning experience, somehow customized to her preferences and needs and personality. Now, I would like to also share my slides, if that would work. Yeah, so there. We are all very much aware of the fact that the education system worldwide is moving towards creative disruptions from multiple fronts. However, we have seen that the core challenges that the education institutions are currently facing, they have impacted other business fields such as manufacturing or banking in the last years. So they are not necessarily all new, but indeed they could. It could mean that the education providers will be facing them all at once. We will see in the next slides that we'll be talking about some changes determined, as Lars also mentioned, by technological breakthroughs, but also demographic changes, ethics, trust or lack of trust, and also other factors like globalization. What I want to state from the beginning is the fact that we all have to see these trends not only as challenges, but also as huge opportunities. I will show you today some of these drivers of change relevant for the future of education. but also some future-driven innovations, some startups, some initiatives that already tap on such trends. We will be spending around 10 to 15 minutes on this part. Then I want to share with you a piece of work from the Institute for the Future in Palo Alto, and I will be closing with 2 slides on the 5 scenarios for future of education, Education 2030, developed by some reputable institutions. These are the big 6 umbrella trends that we will be approaching today, less theoretically and more with some examples that I hope it will inspire all of us. First change that I would like us to touch upon is the shift that we are all witnessing today from adopting learning early in the life to learning throughout our entire life. Today, all of us, from early age to senior actives, we are facing these challenges of having to deal with jobs that we do not know yet, with technologies that are evolving in a faster pace than ever before, with problems that we don't know yet, and of course with a high degree of uncertainty. What should we all do about this? How can we tackle all of them? That's a big question. We will have to learn this, and maybe more important is that we will have to learn how to actually learn. And here I see 2 perspectives. One is related to the fact that we need to learn how we can do it as individuals, and that implies behaviors such as of course, entrepreneurial mindset, as Lars mentioned before, but also creativity, critical thinking, this willingness that we can fail. And we also have to learn how we can co-create, or how we can learn together with others. And others can also mean robots, or it can mean people from diverse cultures, or it can also mean managing our various identities. Like I was mentioning before, there are widely spread headlines showing that 60 or 70 or 80% of the jobs that will exist in 2030, we do not know them yet. The percentage is not that important, but the main idea stays. We all need to prepare, but also the next generations need to prepare for jobs that we do not know yet. And I would like to share with you a piece of work done by Microsoft with the UK-based company Future Laboratory. There are 5 jobs here on the slide. They refer to jobs that they deem to exist in 2025. So we are talking about freelance biohacker, ethical technology advocate, a virtual habitat designer, an IoT data creative, and a digital cultural commentator. And going a little bit beyond 2025, we have space tour guide, or a personal content creator, or a rewilding strategist, sustainable power innovator, and the last one is the human body designer. One other very important piece of this learning journey, the long life learning, is about the search that many of us face nowadays, the search for purpose and the search for a need that we will resonate with. And here, as Bill Damon said, which is a professor of education at Stanford University, the biggest problems of the young generation today is that is not actually stress, but meaninglessness. Sorry for the word. So the lack of purpose. And one recommendation that I have here is for you to check out one of the projects that Bill Damon mentored and developed at Stanford, which I also happened to be part of in the first 2 years of their piloting. Is a purpose learning curriculum called Project Wayfinder. For those more interested in the topic, I can share the links, or more information on it. We are now moving to the second shift from academic literacy to a new form of literacy, which is mainly driven by the technological developments. New multimedia technologies are bringing a transformation in the way we learn and we communicate, and there is and will be a need for new literacies beyond, let's say, the fundamentals. And here we are talking of aspects such as critical thinking, digital literacy, or visual savviness. And I have here an example. There could be much more, of course. I've chosen this one because I believe very much in the modification that the esports industry could bring. It was released in fall last year. It's a competitive video gaming that started to be introduced, a platform that started to be introduced across the US in high schools. It's called Plates, if I pronounce it correctly, and it allows students to be involved in each of the aspects of forming a team, but also being part of a competition where they have a live audience. And one other very interesting aspect about it is related to the fact that it was developed by a 25-year-old teenager. Or another example here, it was unveiled quite recently, I think 3-4 months ago. It's called A Different Lens. It's a content publishing platform. It allows students to create documentaries or short movies about some of the themes that they are interested in. And at the end, the movie is emailed to them, but along with a list of potential courses or programs they can follow at a Monash University in Australia. And those are based on the interests that they have shown in the platform at the beginning. And to conclude this trend, I'm sharing with you a print screen that I made yesterday, I think. Just to give you a little bit of dimension, there are currently more than 700 projects related to education and technology only on the Kickstarter crowdfunding platform. So there are more to come on this part. We are now moving to the third shift that we want to address today, and we call it somehow from the blackboards to the whiteboards, from papers and books to a Netflix of curriculum. And the first example here comes from the VR technology company Oculus. They have launched in August last year an education program in 3 countries, Taiwan, Japan, and US. With the aim of promoting understanding and awareness of how virtual reality can actually help both learning and collaboration. They will be using the programs to connect students that are located in remote parts of the countries, or they will be using them for public demos in libraries or museums. And they could also use them for VR creation courses. And I think the last one is done in partnership with the Seattle Public Schools. The last example on this trend comes from China, and that's the Kada story, which I think very recently raised around 14 million from VCs, from investors. They provide digital picture books for kids up to 9 years old. They also provide some customer service to kindergartens. I think up to now they have 10 million users or more than that. Another shift that we see here, and which is currently affecting the education environment, is this movement from education mainly provided by state or by some public or private institutions to diversification of education providers or training partnerships. We see now partnerships between different actors. We see intersections in different disciplines. There are more than 800 universities that have lectures on app stores, and we of course talk about the vast market of MOOCs, the Coursera type of providers. The traditional universities are seeing growing competition, and some choose to go for a niche approach as a game changer. And here the example that I will be sharing actually comes from Romania, where we have such a niche university. It's already in their 3rd year, I think. The Entrepreneurship Academy, it's an environment where actually students work in teams to learn business by creating and operating real business. So not necessarily, let's say, from the books. More specifically, they are engaged to create a business from the 1st year, and they need to have profit in order to promote. So in addition to their individual learning and academic objectives, they also have financial and development objectives. We also see companies getting highly involved in education, and for sure here there are a lot of examples. I've chosen this one because it's pretty recent, and also because it kind of reminds us that in this entire education system, we don't have to forget that there are more than one stakeholder. So there is more than just students. There are also teachers involved, and they also need a lot of attention. And this comes from 3M, which actually in November last year, they released a free course platform for teachers in Brazil, with the aim of encouraging them to help students in science projects. Talking about the diverse breed of education providers, I will also share with you 2 examples, more technology related, based on the blockchain technology. So we have the Wolf University, which was launched in March last year by some Oxford academics. And they use blockchain, of course, to regulate contracts and to record the academic achievements. And kind of on the same technology pattern comes Tutelus, which is the first decentralized education technology platform. And they say they have up to now more than 1 million users and more than 130K video courses. And we are now at the 5th trend, very much emphasized in the video that Lars just shared. We are moving from the standardized type of learning to customized and individual learning. I think it is pretty clear to all of us here that one size fits all does not really work in this environment anymore in the whole education arena, and that individual learning path can somehow help students to better develop their self and their world awareness, but also their innate talents and capabilities. Learning can be transformed in a very customized experience where each individual approaches problems in his own way and acquires knowledge and skills at its own pace. The example that I'm sharing with you today here, it comes from Brazil. It was launched in Sao Paulo a few months ago, and it's a language learning tool. And I very much like the question that kicked off actually this project. Why do people that are so different, they have to learn English in the same way? So students complete exercises prior to their classes. B tools collects this type of information about the virtual lessons in order to be able to personalize how the classes will be further presented. Another aspect related to this full experience of learning is, of course, the use of gamification. And I'm sure all of you know examples in this area. I've chosen one that was just released in November last year. It's called Stacks. And it's a free online game that helps children to determine long-term strategies for investing. We see, of course, also many initiatives towards leveraging the power of the crowds. which Lars enjoys very much. And one example here is the students and parents that are rating, let's say, teachers. Also looking at the learning experience, I think we can all agree with the fact that if we are talking about the physical location of where the learning is taking place, then we are also talking about how that place is designed and what offers to the students. There is a very interesting piece of work here from the international foresight company called Arup. It's called Future of Campus, or the Campus of the Future, or something like this. If anyone is interested in it, I can send you a link. One thing that I want to emphasize through this example is that sustainability is something that's more and more on the radars of people, and they're making their choices based on these items. And there is an example here that comes from University of Virginia, who made a partnership last year with the Free Bed Linen brand that offer compostable sheets for the overnight freshman orientations. And also talking about the campus experience, a very nice example comes from Brazil, which has developed a marketplace which could help students to match with openings at the university, and that is done with the aim to offer students that otherwise do not afford to go to have the opportunity of education, to take now the place of a prospective student who failed to enroll. I was looking in January, and they had over 50 million users that visit the marketplace. And the last driver that I want to share with you today is related to the shift that we are currently witnessing, which is driving the focus from neglecting some of the habits that we are having to a more focus on well-being and promotion of healthy habits within the education systems. And these are some plans that were unveiled last year. It's about a school in Chennai, which has the goal to teach children how to be happy. Rather than just offering a standardized curriculum, they have facilities such as ideation labs, they have meditation rooms, they have test kitchen, and of course teachers act more as mentor and coaches and not like a regular professor. And there is a similar example here from Delhi. They have introduced happiness classes last year, of course, for the students' well-being. And the last example that I want to share with you comes from UK. It was in the news, I think, last month. They have introduced sleep lessons into the actual school curriculum. We end here the section on the trends and the future-driven innovation. I have two more topics that I want to address you. The first one is related to future fit skills. This is a piece of work done by Institute for the Future in Palo Alto, and it actually started around the question, are you fit for tomorrow? I can share you the link for this, and you can, let's say, if you're interested, you can go and go through all the details. I will be going through them, but at the higher pace, because it's not the purpose and not the time of this call. So the first one, it's called Make Yourself Known. Everyone is visible, just about everywhere and all the time. So what could matter is that you make yourself visible, and that your visibility it stands. The next one is called Befriend the Machine. So machines are getting smarter. Some of them will work for us. For some of them, we will work or in them. So more and more, we will work side by side to get things done. The third one is related to the fact that you need to find or build a tribe or tribes. as you make your way through life. The fourth one is related to the fact that everything is connected, and this connection is growing faster, and they create a lot of feedback loops. So you kind of have to figure out a way in which you can go through these complex systems. And the last one is, keep it going. It's a more collapsing type of scenarios where we are witnessing a lot of political instabilities, and you kind of have to make your way through it. The last part of my intervention will be related to future scenarios for education, and I have here two things that I want to share with you. The first one comes from Stanford. It's more related to higher education, but as I know from Lars, and we also learned in the first part of the call, there are many people here interested in this part, and there are teams in the community that will be working on this. So you can check Stanford2025.com. They have done some visioning exercises, and they are presenting their 4 scenarios of the future. So the open loop university, the based education, the access flip, and the purpose learning one. And what's also very interesting is that you have the choice to design your own. And they also they make available different type of templates that you can use in your project or within your university, or just, I don't know, for your curiosity, or if you are enthusiastic about it. And the last part, it's a piece of work done by Holonic. I hope I pronounce correctly. They are a global education intelligence platform, and they have developed last year 5 future scenarios. I will go through them very quickly. If you need more details or you want to see them, I attach here the link, or I can also share it afterwards. So we have education as usual. That's a future in which we do things as we did so far, with main funding from government, low digitalization levels. I truly hope that this scenario becomes absolute as soon as possible. The second one is called Regional Rising, and it's a scenario in which we talk about inter-regional students. We talk about communities and collaboration where we could find some economic and innovation benefits from this entire collective intelligence, and we also talk about things like regional talent hubs. The third one is called Global Giants, and as the name says, it is go big or go home type of scenario. We can see things like giant partnerships and the entire notion of borderless education. The fourth one is peer-to-peer scenario, in which the learner has the full control. The learner can take microcredits from different institutions, mainly online. We see a lot of blockchain in this scenario, and the entire learning journey is personalized. And the last one, it's called Robo Revolution, and it's the future of who is teaching who. And of course, here we talk a lot about artificial intelligence in the teaching system, and the curriculum is fully digitized. The entire report actually is a pretty nice read, and offers quite some awakening moments. Before we close, I would like to, because Lars did kind of the same. I don't know if I copied you or you copied me, but I also want to finish with a video. Let's see if that works.
Trips, there are portals so they can travel to Africa or Asia or go to space. This is my school in the future. When you look inside, there's TVs on the ceiling, the floor, and all sides of the room. If they say, like, I want to learn about Earth, a big picture of Earth would pop up, and then like it would talk about what Earth is made of. About the future, I first find school lesson. Instead of walking home, a jet fighter pack comes out and you can fly home. We go on the space rocket to get to school, a space rocket school bus. And so what you do is like I want to learn about the Eiffel Tower, and then like picture of the Eiffel Tower would appear on every single wall, and then it would appear in like 3D without leaving my house. My mom wants to have the same as me, but it's just a hologram acting like me because I'm still doing what I just want to do, and then I just send in the hologram when the hologram. The floating school of mythology. So they go around the world in the boat and talk to people in places like Egypt, Asia, and Greece, and like solve the mysteries, do stuff like that. School would be on a flying saucer. From the school, you could see the Earth, the Moon, and sometimes you would visit the stars in the Milky Way. My school of the future would have a machine. If you forgot your lunch, you would have to press buttons, and then it would fly out of the machine, and you could have whatever you wanted. It could be really useful in the future. How it's going to happen in the future, because probably somebody's going to be really, really smart, and that's like knows how to make something like that, and then they'll make it, and everything will be better.
Thank you all very much. Okay. And to conclude, I'm truly proud and humble that I'm part of this community, and I think that we can all be facilitators of change. Lars?
Thank you very much, Tianna. Wonderful presentation of the trends in education. We want to open up now for questions from all of you. So while we have Tianna here, we have the privilege of having Tianna right here. Let's hear some questions from anyone. Any thoughts or questions? Or
hello, Tianna.
Hi.
Hi, Edwin.
Hey, I just wanted to ask. You know, we are seeing in the actual education system a very, very strong immunological system to change. So where do you think it's going to be in the future, the actual education system? Because it seems that the real innovation is going to come from the outside. But where do you think is going to be the actual education system in this future?
Hi, thank you very much for the question. I'm not really in the position of predicting where that will be, but I hope, like in the video, like we heard, I just hope that will be in a better place. Also with this initiatives, but I think that we all of us see around, there is more and more interest from people of giving back and contributing. So hopefully we will be talking about an education system that allows children to be more self-aware, to be aware not only about himself, but also the role that plays in a community, being that local or global, and to also be more doers. So it's nice to think and to vision and to imagine, but it would be great if we all could do more or contribute more.
Okay, thanks.
Do we speak to the microphone if we want to pose a question?
Yes, Klaus, go ahead. You can ask now.
Yeah, thank you. A very interesting presentation, and with some new aspects which I'm looking forward to study more. Actually, the group of which I am a member is preoccupied with quite another aspect. Most people are occupied by the problems in the formal educational system. And an example is that, well, I would say that's no wonder, because most of the budgets and most of the efforts go into the formal education system, which is concerned with people under the age of 30. Actually, in Denmark, I think that up to 90% of the public budget in education is spent on people below 30. And they make up about 1/3 of the population. People between 30 and 70 make up more than 50% of the population, but only about 10% of the budget is aimed at that. And we think in this group that this is a major problem, because if nothing is being done by all these generations, then we will end up with people who are unskilled and become social problems. So what do you think about education for grown-ups, for adults?
I think it's very necessary, and I can also share an example with you. I think I forgot to include it in the presentation. Do you all know of the fact that in China they have introduced universities? They are designed for people up to, I think, between 50 years old or 70 years old. And they are helping them to, as you were mentioning, reskill, but also to help them get a more meaningful part of their life, in the sense that a lot of the things that they are learning, they can go and share it back with other communities, or some of the products that they are building while they have these classes, they can go and share or sell outside of the university. And it's meant only for people in this age range, because as you also mentioned, they have noticed that there is a growing population, of course, and that it will help a lot to maintain them active, and by education and by learning that can be done.
Thank you, very interesting. I'll look into what China is doing.
I can send you the link if you want. I have a link for this, so I can share with you.
Please
so
do.
you.
Thank you.
Great.
Excellent. Other questions or comments?
I will also be part of the community, and I also sign up for some of the teams. So anytime you have a question, or if I can share some of the links or the information that I mentioned about, please just write to me and drop me an email, and I will share it.
Lars, if I can ask a question?
Yes, of course, Jerry.
I typed it into the chat, but I'm not sure either of you is looking at the chat, which is, Tianna, of all the things you've described and talked about and seen, which are the ones that you're jealous that kids now have and that adults now have? Which are the ones that you really wish you had had growing up?
Yeah, I've noticed your question, but I think I just thought that I need more time to give a proper answer to it. I was about to answer, but you took it. I think there are more things, but one of them I would have liked to have to be part of a more experiential type of learning, and that includes doing projects together, or even the mere fact of learning some things just by touching them or seeing how other people are doing. Some of the work that I was mentioning that was done at Stanford in the Wayfinder program, which I think is also very inspirational, is the fact that some of the students are exposed to interview people from a different age category or different culture backgrounds, so they can learn how it was for them to reach that point of life and what maintained their purpose there. So I would have liked to be able to go through such experiment as I was growing up and to better understand what is actually the purpose that is driving a doctor, or what's the purpose of driving an investment banker, because maybe it would have been easier for me to choose higher education than what I currently did, listen to my parents, both of them. So I had to do both in order to fulfill their desires probably, and for sure not mine.
Excellent. How's that, Jerry?
That was great. Thank you. I can appreciate everything you said, because I have the same wishes.
Thank you, Jerry.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Easter, we cannot hear you, but I see you're trying. Yeah, no, we're not hearing you.
You can write.
Another
question. Okay, we can hear you vaguely, but we can hear you.
Yeah, you can have put it like this. Let's see.
Did you hear what I said? I was saying there was another question in the chat from someone else.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a look here. So
music is part of our lives. How do you see music fitting in? Is that the question you're referring to? I've actually seen recently a project in which they were teaching kids mindfulness through music. So for sure, music has some therapeutical ways and can be a nice way of learning things. I don't have any other example here. I'm not sure if it answers your question. Yeah, Lars, help me.
I have a quick example from my own life. Now, I'm not here to promote any particular music streaming service. No. But you know, in my case, I'm a Spotify user, and Spotify, like many other streaming services, I'm sure, have channels with the different mood. I mean, it generates a particular mood in your mind. And one of my favorite themes is focus. There's actually a channel called Focus, and you just start streaming that, and it's primarily instrumental music, and I don't know any of it. I would probably never buy any of it, but the fact that it just keeps flowing when I'm working, it just gives me the amazing focus. I just get into flow kind of immediately when I start playing this, and I can just continue for as long as Spotify is playing the focus music. And obviously you can select any other mood, and I think algorithms are excellent at helping you, supporting you into the mood that you want to achieve. So I find that immensely helpful in my life. Then the party channel is good for the Friday night.
Yeah, I'm sorry I did not have all this information. Spotify just launched in Romania a few months ago, so although I know of it, we are not yet a very active user base.
There's a question from Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. The question is, I love your ideas. I wonder how we support teachers to participate in this new style of teaching.
A short answer here would be by empowering them. We have to give them the capacity and the opportunity and facilitate a safe space in which they can experiment more. That's my opinion on it.
I totally agree. And by the way, we have many teachers in our community. The teachers want to implement change, and they have many excellent ideas on how this can be done. But it can be a challenge to do it in an established systems that have to work by the book, right? So it's not an easy thing. It's actually easier to come to a community, hopefully like Educate4Life, where you can run experiments without being judged or being blamed for doing things that you're not supposed to do, right? So it's about finding your tribe where you can run your experiments and learn from it and find out if it can work or not.
I'm not an education expert, but if there are more people aware of this subject, or there are any professors in the community, I think it would be nice if we also hear from them how they see it.
We have several professors in the community as well. I would definitely love to hear their thoughts as well. All right, and one question from Adriana. Thank you, Adriana. And one from me here. Do you have any recommendation on exercise or projects to help kids start finding their passions and meaning?
I think there are more. I'm just not familiar with all of them. The one that I was mentioning earlier in the presentation is called Project Wayfinder, and it was part of the D School at Stanford. They have piloted there for 2 years, and now is in their first year of rolling it out in the US, but also in some European countries. I can share you the link. I hope it's projectwayfinder.com or something like this. And in a nutshell, their curriculum is based on 3 elements. The first one is related to self-awareness. The second one is related to world awareness. What is the society expecting from me, and what is my role in the community, local or global? And the third one is called purposeful actions. And it actually means finding a need or a problem that you resonate with, and that based on your skills and passions, like you were mentioning, you can feel empowered to kind of fully support. So projectwayfinder.com can be one option, but I'm sure there are many more on this topic.
I want to add, there's a wonderful book by Sir Ken Robinson. Obviously, you have all seen Ken Robinson's TED Talks. So, and he's also written several books on this particular topic. Finding Your Element is a great book. It's written for the parents, because the kids seem to know this. They have known this all the time, but we as adults need to learn how to help our kids to find their element. And I use quite a lot of that content in presentations to adults because we have to find our way to our element, not our kids. They're doing well. Let's not stand in their way.
There is another question, which I think is a very good question. I don't have a very good answer for it, unfortunately. It says, how do we get the appropriate applicable content to teachers in the context that teachers, educators are already overworked and underpaid? And of course, we can empower, but practically speaking, many existing teachers have no time to explore. So we need to make it easy for educators in the traditional system to implement. And I fully agree with the context as well. And I also don't think that we will be able in this community to develop set of, let's say, methodology or platform that will just go and from the next day implement it in a school and it will produce miracles. So I agree with the fact that it will take a while to change, but we need to start because it's already too late.
I got a question the other day from a business college asking, so how are you fixing the school system and the education system? And I think the answer that I feel tempted to give is, I don't think we're fixing the education system. We are probably more likely to be developing alternatives on the edge of the education systems through experimentation. And we very much need teachers as part of this, as part of the privatization trends that Tianna also talked about. I see many opportunities for teachers and other professionals and people interested in this field to be the founders, co-founders, or supporters, or participants in various experiments on the edge. It can be in a startup, it can be in an NGO of some sort, not-for-profit initiative, or being part of a community like ours. That will allow us to experiment with different models, different ways that we can offer alternatives to the education system. Hopefully over time, some of those experiments can grow into something sustainable, something that can be used by an increasing number of learners around the world. I think that's where the opportunity is. And also, again, we need teachers as part of this, and we have teachers part of this. Thank you, all of you, for being here, those of you who are already working in the education system. But having said that, there's also a lot that can be done within what we call the immune system of the education sector. There is a lot that can be done that can make a difference and impact inside the education system. And we're happy to explore those opportunities as part of our sprint as well. Awesome. Jabin writes, augmented and virtual reality and immersive experiences can do a lot of horizon expanding. Absolutely agree. Yeah, Jerry, thank you for that comment. Nice questions, or I fully agree. This was absolutely wonderful. So please keep the questions coming, but I think we'll move on in our agenda for today.
Yeah, prepare them for Jerry as well.
And for Jerry. Jerry will be back later with Jerry's brain. And we all depend on Jerry's brain, and fortunately he will be back and with us all the time. So thank you all.
No pressure, Jerry.
No pressure, Jerry. Thank you very much, Tianna, for introducing us to the trends and answering all these questions. Yeah, very thought-provoking presentation. Absolutely wonderful. Let me just share here the agenda for the rest of the session. I'm going now to give you a brief introduction to the sprint process, and I'm receiving many great questions about how does this sprint work. It's a really good question. I'm going to give you a lot of answers now, and after that we're talking about, very briefly, talking about each of the sprint groups that have been forming autonomously in the past many weeks, and also some groups that are about to join. So it's not too late to join with a new group, but we are getting very close to the end where it's possible to join with new groups. But it's still possible. Then I'm going to facilitate it's not even a mini, but maybe a micro design sprint on the impact that Educate4Life as a community can choose to have on the future of education. So we're going to do that together, everybody who is on the call. At that point in time, it would be great if you have a blank piece of paper or notebook, or some other way to making a lot of notes, maybe drawings and some notes making. Then we are going to look at the results from this mini design sprint, and then we'll all jump right into Jerry's brain, which is going to be a collaborative to find inspiration that can help us to make the desired impact that we want to make in our world. Then we're going to wrap up the call with a view into what's next, what's starting tomorrow, how does that work. So this is the agenda for the rest of this session. So I want to continue where Tianna kind of left, and Tianna said she would have wanted to be part of experimental education. I think that would be one of my as well. And so actually I posted a little bit of a survey in our community a while back, and you see it here. I was asking, how do you feel about experimenting with your kids' education, right? Or if you don't have kids, other kids that you care deeply about, are you willing to experiment? Because I'm a parent, I find it actually hard, to be honest. Every day I make a living by asking others to learn to experiment, right? Could I do it? Well, you see here that there was a gap. I wish probably I was at the peak of the positive side of this continuum, right? That I would be fully willing to experiment with my kids' education. I think we have to. I should be the first one, right? But I noticed I had a little bit of a gap there, and it maybe it's fear. If it's fear, I'll admit it. It's like, I understand now why society reacts very strongly if you take your kids out of school without having another solution to the education of your kid. That's what I did. There's a strong reaction, by the way, I can tell you, from people around you who think there's no alternative. But there is, I can tell you. But it's primarily, I think, because we all believe that there is only one way, and that's the given way that we have all been told about, we have all been through. So actually changing this paradigm is challenging, and maybe that's what's causing the fear. And some feel that fear more than others, or anxiety, or whatever name we could put on this, right? So, and some are not willing to experiment at all, and that's probably the majority of our populations. It's just an assumption, I don't know. But what I do know is that we have a methodology, a sprint methodology, and I make a living from actually educating adults in this methodology, helping them to, through hands-on training and practice and a coaching approach, to learn this methodology, which helps to change our mindset. And when we have changed our mindset, we can achieve anything new. We can do the disruptive things that before we did this, we thought we couldn't, right? So I realized, what I can bring to the table is facilitate this sprint. So now I'm going to tell you how it works. So we essentially broke a 12-week sprint into 4 stages. And this is to simplify things. It helps to simplify things. And the first stage is the awakening. And we are doing a part of that right now. This live workshop is part of the awakening. In this stage, we are discovering what's actually possible. We, like Tianna told us about, there are trends that are supporting what we really hope to do. There are trends that we can ride and we can leverage. There are some technologies out there. We don't quite understand them necessarily, and we don't understand how others apply them and generate value from that. But there's a lot going on, like Tianna told us about. We just need to find the inspiration, learn from the case studies, study what's happening out there. So what's possible, and how's the world changed since last I checked? And it's changing so fast, so we need to check again. And that's the first part of our sprint, is to do a research. We're doing this in each team, and we also do it as a community. And those of you who have experience from this sprint methodology that we are using, the sprint methodology, you will know that teams are usually doing their own research and building their inspiration and ideas on their own research. But in this sprint, we are collaborating when we do research. So research that I'm doing, I make available to everybody. Research that Tianna has been doing is actually available to everybody. And so research each of you will be doing will be available to everybody, if you choose to make it available, of course. We see the power in our community, and we will have a multiplier effect by actually giving everybody access to all the research that we come across. We'll get back to how that works practically a little bit later. So this is the awakening, and I'm just going to show you here that the impact workshop that we are running right now is the first part of the awakening. The second part of the awakening is the align workshop, and it's actually a team-based workshop. It's not a live session like the one we do today. It's an activity, some assignments for each of the teams to do on your own time. We're spanning a lot of time zones, and everybody is super busy. A lot of you are traveling right now, but still here on the call. Thank you so much for being here. So you as a team will find it much easier to do these assignments, which are weekly, as a team. You discuss when you're doing the assignments, and you get a new assignment every Monday, and you report out to us every Friday. And when I say us, it's the community, because we will help each other in each of our journeys as teams with these assignments. We will provide feedback to each other and guidance and input. So this is for you to do on your own time as a team. And the first assignment will go live tomorrow, and then you can dive right in. So the way it works to access these assignments is in our online community. You will go to the courses section, right? It's in the menu. Right now I'm showing the web interface, right? There's the same menu if you're using a mobile phone, and then you also find the courses section right there. And what you see are several different courses. One is called Preparing for the Educate for Life Sprint. I hope all of you, or many of you, have been in there. You will find different useful sessions and information, and there will be more coming, by the way. And you also see something that you are not seeing right now, but you will from tomorrow. Then it's out there, published to all of you. This is called the Educate for Life Sprint. And essentially, it works this way, that you click the view course, and you see it in the lower right corner. You find the Educate for Life Sprint course, and then you click view course, and then you will find each set of assignments for each week. You will only see the first week from tomorrow, and then the week after there's another one being published, and so on. So you'll be given the assignments every week when you need them. There will also be lots of tips and tricks and useful resources and so on. So this is where you find the assignments for your teams. I want to dive into the first week's assignment now, that you cannot get in there right now, but I'm going to show you what's in there. So this is the first team assignment. It's the same assignment for all teams. So it's important when you read through the assignment that you do it with your own focus. You know, you need to relate the assignment to the scope of your own project, what you're trying to achieve. Some of you have a focus on adult education, some on children's education, and some on empowerment, and they're all amazing, and they will all bring a lot of value. But remember, when you're doing the assignments, do it with the focus on your own type of project. So the first assignment is about exploring global issues and trends. Tianna has been helping us to get started on this already. This session we're doing today, the recording, is made available, so it's available to you from tomorrow. And also we're posting a lot of links and another thing I'm going to share a little bit later, which I think would be super interesting for all of you. So the first week, there are 3 assignments. One is to explore these global issues and trends as a team, but with focus on the scope of your own project. Identify social issues and trends in of course, in the education space and everything related directly to the education space, but also have a look into other industries and sectors around education, right? It's all connected somehow, and you can find very powerful trends coming from other industries and sectors that could either cause problems for your initiatives when you start to launch them, or they could be an amazing exponential wave that you can ride. You can find inspiration from other sectors that you can leverage when you're building your project. But doing the research helps you to find the inspiration to build and grow and evolve your various initiatives. This is the first assignment for the coming week for you as a team. The second assignment out of 3 is about, now we need to again study about exponential technologies. A solution doesn't have to be centered around technologies, but exponential technologies have such an impact on our world and our lives, so it's very important to understand how disruptive these are to our lives, and what should we be careful about when we design our new projects, our new ideas and services, and what can we leverage, what's the power that we could build into our new ideas here. There's lots of technologies to start with, and we have some ideas and some references that you can look into as well when we publish this assignment. But here's just a short list of interesting technologies that is worthwhile researching a bit more. This is the second assignment, and the third assignment that you need to do in your team is study various startups, but also other potentially disruptive initiatives that are being created around the world. Tianna showed us again some examples of really interesting new types of initiatives, not driven by government funding at all. Actually, some of them are grassroots movement driven and coming from other places, and they could potentially be an amazing alternative to established schooling systems and education systems. So we want to find out what's going on out there already. We could partner up with some of them, or we could learn from them. We could just find inspiration and do things differently and even better. There's so much we can do from the inspiration we get when we study those who are already playing in this space, already making something new in new ways. So it's very important to do this study. You can do it as a team, and you will self-organize how you do this research in these 3 different assignments. You might want to divide and conquer, or you might want to meet once per day to do this together. It's up to you entirely as a team how you want to manage this. So this is what the awakening part looks like. So I'm just now quickly checking the chat box here. And I know a few have to drop off and some are joining, and welcome to new ones joining. So there's a question here from Klaus. Do we have to do the Align workshop at the same time together in the group or individually? So it is a group activity, but you don't necessarily have to do it all at the same time. So you have the privilege of each of you have a group in our community. It's a private group, so you can discuss your initiative in privacy in there. There's a live chat, so you can have a chat communication, stay in touch this way, and say, hey, Klaus will do this part, Lars will do that part. But I would strongly recommend that you connect, for example, on a video call like we're doing now, once or twice at least per week, to get alignment, to discuss your findings, and to help kind of consolidate everything you're doing. And we are going to tell you exactly the tools that you have available, but you don't necessarily have to connect at the same time. very often. And we are spanning a lot of time zones, and we are all busy people, and the sprint has been designed so you can work virtually, and you can find the way that works for you in your team. Different teams have different needs and different ways of doing this. So great. So I think these are just for now questions to the awake part. Was there another?
Yeah, one from Edwin.
When are we presenting the results? So I'll get to that in just a moment. And MB is asking, I'd like to touch into each of the teams. Yes, we in the arts believe that classical arts should be at the heart. Yeah, I agree. It's the pulse of the humanity in energies, absolutely. And then you have this wonderful reference to the Star of Canadian Brass. And MB, we want to hear. I think what I want to do is invite you on a call where you're telling this story, because it's absolutely mind-blowing, and the world needs to hear this. But having said that, you're welcome to click every group and request to join, and then everybody knows MB will be joining to share the story. It's absolutely also a fine way to bring this into a diverse mix of information we need to handle when we're putting together our initiatives. I strongly support your recommendation here about classical arts. So please, when MB knocks your door, invite her in and listen to the story. Again, I want to have a call offered to everyone here to hear the story. It's absolutely amazing. So we'll get back to the deadlines and these things in just a moment. I want to make an announcement here. So we are prepared to launch the public school library, and it's maybe not a sexy name, but to me, I relate it to actually a nice place I can go and seek information. Right? This is how I remember a public school library. And we just published one. It's not open yet, but after this session, right after, we're opening this up to all of you. It's not a fancy AI-driven thing that collects any information in the world. It's not. It's just a place where you can drop inspiring articles, references, videos, upload documents if you have, and share it with the rest of us. That's what it is. Nothing sophisticated, but it's a place you can go drop inspiring articles, videos, something else. Right? So it's going to be made public just after this call. And feel free to contribute to the library. We'll continue to add everything we come across in this library. Whatever you're doing, you can stop by this library and check it out and search based on topics that you're interested in. So this is one part of the resources that we as a community want to make available to each other. Then I just want to touch also on the ideate phase, because this is really a core part of the whole sprint process. It's very important. It explains the outcome that we hope to have from this sprint. And the ideate phase is where you ideate in teams. You run experiments, and this is a safe community. This is where you can come to run your experiments, whoever you are, and you can test your ideas, and we are going to guide you on how you're doing that if you don't know already. It's all in the process. Then you'll be receiving a lot of feedback on your ideas from the rest of the community. We're also inviting some interesting people who are not yet part of the community, but I have a cunning plan to make them part of our community, and giving us an external perspective on all the ideas that each of us will be bringing into the sprint and developing during the sprint. So we help each other to test all the ideas that we all bringing to the mix. we're going to use an ideation platform. So all of the initiatives that you are starting to bake now in your private group, in the comfort and privacy of closed groups, is going to make public inside our community, however, but it's going to be made available to everybody to see. So there's full transparency about what's your project about, what do you hope to achieve, and how are you going to achieve it. And that is going to help everybody better understand it, provide you with questions and feedback and ideas to how you can improve your project, right? So again, the power of the community is really coming into the mixer. And again, also the ideate phase, the assignments are also found on the courses, and then view course, and then you are into the assignments also for the next phase, right, when that gets published. So that's another week away, but when it's public, I will send out the announcement with the link, and you can go right in there as a team or individually and study it, and then come together as a team and start working on the next weekly assignment. So the point about the ideate phase is kind of explained here in bullets. So we are doing a 12-week open innovation and ideation kind of challenge or collaborative sprint around the future of education. And it's very broadly defined, as broadly as anybody can imagine. If you work on children's education, bring it in. If you want to work on adult education, bring it in. Empowerment, bring it in. Whatever you're doing related to the future of education, bring it in and make it part of our sprint. We're going to collaborate to make everybody successful in the learning process. So we encouraging then the teams, each team, to upload their best ideas. This comes at the idea phase. As I said, upload your ideas about how you do a certain thing better, about your new ideas. Upload them, make them available to all the other teams, and then you're ready to receive feedback from all of us, from the community. This is all online, so there are no offline workshops anywhere. You're welcome to host some, you're very welcome, but Educatefor is a virtual community. It allows us to access all you wonderful people around the world in all time zones. We get the best of the whole world by having you. We can only do this by making it online, making it virtual. And we do our best to keep it entirely virtual. Then we're going through the phases that I'm describing now, and I'm going to show you some specific questions that we are going to ask you in each of the phases. And the goal here is that some of these ideas will be tested and validated through experimentation, and potentially become potential solution that can be implemented. It can become a new startup. It could be a new not-for-profit initiative in your local community, or it can be something else. But we want to bring these things to the world. We want to give birth to new ideas and support this process. We hope that is what you want too. This sprint is about bringing you from the research and ideation all the way to a point where you can begin the early stage of implementation. You can do it alone as a team or with a partner. There are many ways to do things. Some of the questions we're going to ask you about the specific project that you have in mind, and you're just getting them started, right? So, but some of the questions a few weeks from now that we will be asking you are on this page now. For example, what changes in the education space are you attempting to design or deploy? And here we'll be asking you for a massive transformative purpose around your idea, and about we want you to define the problem space that you are working on. And we want you to give a clear description in more detail about how your project works, how your idea works, who will benefit from your idea when they get implemented, and how are they going to benefit, and how does your idea fit into the existing educational ecosystem. If it does, it doesn't have to, but if you think it does, how does it fit in? That helps us to help you maybe find partners in the education system, and it's not difficult. We already have schools and universities in our ecosystem very, very eager to be part of this. It's amazing. I've been out visiting several schools to test the temperature, their interest in this. They're excited about this, right? So it's just about finding out, how do you fit into it? What do you want from working with a school or university? If you tell us, we can help you. I hope we'll do our best, and as a community, we'll find those partnerships so you can go out and test your ideas on real people out there. Get the learning from that. So what will you need that you don't have today to test and design and validate your idea? Let us know. It's harder than it sounds to actually describe this, but we are going to help you to understand what does it really take to test this properly. So you learn what it means to actually bring this to the world. What do you expect to be the biggest challenges you're going to face when you're deploying a new solution? This is, I think, a very, very important question to ask ourselves, because you might face some immune system reactions from some places. People saying, what you're doing is crazy, this is never going anywhere, or we will even try to prevent it from happening if we see you're coming to us, or that kind of reaction can happen. I just want to prepare you to what are you going to do if you meet this kind of resistance, because you may. So we're just asking you, so you consider how are you going to react if and when that happens. And what past experiments or educational offerings do you know from the past that failed and from which you should be learning? And again, here we can work as a community to answer these questions. So Educate4Life is that supportive, fertile community where you can experiment with growing new crops or ideas. That's what we're here for, and that's, I think, what you're here for as well. Right, I'm not going into the last stages of the sprint. We'll deal with that later. I just want to prepare you for the beginning of the sprint. And thank you, Jerry, the butterfly Stein there. So we are really running out of time, but I want to do a very quick exercise with you, this mini design sprint, and it can be done in relatively few minutes, right? So if you're up for it, we're going to do it, and then we'll bring in Jerry to help us find inspiration to make the desired impact we want to make as a community. So just before that, we have these amazing groups. Thank you everybody for registering these groups, proposing them, describing them. Some are better described than others, that's okay. You as a team are just coming together now and will be meeting each other for the first time in many cases and getting started. So it's absolutely fine, whatever stage you're at. I'm not going through all of these different groups, but because also I want to give the groups the chance to get together and to become very clear in what is the scope of your project, and then we can get back to help each group promoting the different activities that you're running. Right? So I want to give you the chance to get together as teams and come back and present to us what you have in mind. But I see many, many amazing initiatives already in form and shape, and there's a couple more groups joining in the next few days, so I look forward to that as well. So it's not too late, but it's the last minute to create a new group. And the first time all groups are presenting their projects will be the 11th of March, which is the deadline for sharing. And we'll tell you all about how that works, right? But 11th of March is the next milestone for all the groups. So you have time to do the assignments and to get started, to know each other as a group. Plenty of time, and we are here to support you in that process. Now a mini sprint, right? So let's do it. And I've just taken a few very small components from this amazing book called Sprint, How to Solve Big Problems and Test New Ideas in Just 5 Days, by Jake Knapp and John Saratsky and Braden Kowitz from Google Ventures. An amazing book. There's a whole new version of the sprint approach, but I'm just diving right into a few small pieces of this sprint process and running them live right now. And the question I want us to answer together is, what impact should we decide to make on the future of education as a community? What impact should we decide to make on the future of education as a community, right? I'm now going above and beyond each of your projects, and everything is welcome, and we are supporting all of this. But as a community, is there a particular impact we want to make on the world, right? So let's get to some answers, and there's no wrong answer here. I want to hear everybody, but I have a little exercise to facilitate us to get to the answers, right? So just wait a moment. First of all, nobody knows everything. That's why we need a community, in my opinion. We are complementing each other in amazing ways. So we are going to share information. We will in very few minutes. The way this works, and as I said, I'm just going to pick some small components of a larger process. But I want you all now to take your notebook or a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, whatever you have, but where you can freestyle, write thoughts, words, draw a sketch, whatever comes to mind. Now we will spend 2 minutes together, and then I'm stopping the exercise. 2 minutes where you're just dumping down everything from your mind, from top of your mind, all ideas to what impact should we decide to make as a community on the future of education. The 2 minutes are beginning now. We have 20 seconds left. Just make quick notes, quick thoughts. And the 2 minutes are up now. Okay, don't worry, whatever you have is fine. Don't show it to me, don't share it, not yet. Now we are moving on to the next step of this little exercise, this mini design sprint. Now, again, you need either a blank piece of paper or a new page in your notebook or a new page in your Evernote or whatever you're using. And be prepared now to come up with 8 ideas, 8 different ideas to what impact should we decide to make on the future of education as a community. Forget about what you just did, forget about the ideas you just had. We're starting all over again. 8 individual different ideas to the impact. And you have 40 seconds for each of the ideas. And I'll tell you when the 40 seconds are up, then you move on to the next idea. So first, write or draw first idea to impact, and then in 40 seconds, I'll ask you to shift to the next idea. Okay, 40 seconds are starting now. First idea. Time's up for the first idea. Move on to idea number 2. Another idea, new idea. 40 seconds starting now. What impact should we decide to make on the future of education as a community? Still working on idea number 2. Don't move on just yet. And the 40 seconds are done now. Let's move on to idea number 3. I know you can do it. Come up with a third idea to impact that we can decide to make on the future of education. The 40 seconds you have starts now. Bless you. Don't get a cold.
Thank you.
And the 40 seconds up. We move on to idea number 4. Fourth idea. You can do it. Don't give up. You can do it. Ten more seconds. Okay, that's 40 seconds. We move on to idea number 5. The 5th unique idea from your side. 40 seconds starting now. And the 40 seconds are up now. We're moving on to idea number 6. You can do it. I know you can do it. Unique idea number 6. Keep it coming. 40 seconds are starting now. All right, time's up. We just need 2 more ideas from each of you. So idea number 7, go. And time's up. Then the last idea. I know you all have 1 more at least, so let's give it a shot. Last 40 seconds starting now. And time's up. You can be so proud of yourself, everyone. I'm sure you all have at least 8 ideas to impact that we can make on the future of education. Yeah, woo! Well done. So last part of this little mini sprint. I would like you to select one of these 8 ideas that you just came up with. Select one of them. Select the one that you feel most strongly about, that you feel most connected to. So you don't need any evidence now, you don't need to justify anything. You just come up with the idea that you love the most out of the 8 ones that you just drafted very quickly. I don't want to know about these ideas, I just want you to select one, and now it's time for you to describe this idea in a little bit more detail. Try to describe it in 3 steps, 3 simple steps. What is it you're going to do, or we are going to do, for whom, who are you serving with your idea, and so whoever is benefiting from your idea can achieve something new, can do something new. What's the change that you're bringing in with your project? Try to explain in 3 simple steps what this idea is about. I'll give you 60 seconds. Nobody's going to see what you're writing, by the way, so don't worry about what it looks like. Just in 3 simple steps, whatever you feel like doing, whatever way you want to describe it, describe your idea about the impact that we can make as a community. Describe it in 3 simple steps. 10 seconds left. All right, so you now have one idea each out of the 8. So you have selected, you spend just another minute or so kind of polishing it a bit, refining it a bit, describing it a little bit. So you have a general idea about the impact that you think we should make as a community. So now what I want to do is invite you to jump into our online community, and you know how to get in there. And you will see, when you get in there, you will see this question, this little survey that asks exactly this question, and I'd like you to answer it online in our community. Share your answer, click that button, and write your idea. Let's do that now, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that writing, and then we'll meet again here. I'll stay here with you. So open up another browser and get into community.educatefor.life, and you will see this question. I'll see if Tianna, she found it. Did you find it, Tianna?
Can you post the link in the chat?
Yeah, I can definitely post the link.
I'm gonna do this. I can do it.
Okay. Yeah, go to.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
How do I share it?
If you copy this link.
Do you think this is enough?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're posting the link now.
Just
in
let
the
me
chat.
know if it works.
Yeah. So we are making it visible in a moment, Jerry. So everybody, please sharing your answer. And then in just a moment, we are going to go through the answers, and I think we will feed that into Jerry's brain, and then we'll get started on searching for inspiration in Jerry's brain. So we're just giving everybody a moment to get in here through the link in the chat and write the idea that you just came up with. Keep them coming, everyone. Keep posting your answers. Lovely. So many interesting ideas coming in. And you can see them right there below the question. You see all the different ideas. Wonderful. Amazing contribution from everyone. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. Even we're going to continue. At the moment, I'll give you just another half, but there's a lot happening. It's great. Keep them coming. Keep the ideas coming. If you feel like posting more than one idea, keep them coming. I get a little ding every time there's a new idea. It's a wonderful little sound. All right. I think we're there. So let's briefly go through the different input, all the different ideas that you have been bringing in from your little mini sprint here. I hope you enjoyed this little exercise. The sprint, design sprint, is a super powerful tool to avoid groupthink, to pick everybody's brain in very short time. And it's quite amazing how many ideas we can actually come up with in very short time when we have to. So great job, everybody. Let me just share again my screen here. And then we'll go through some of the ideas. And this is essentially input to Jerry's brain in just a moment, but I'll give Jerry, of course, a chance to have a look at this, and then we can feed it step by step into Jerry's brain during the next session. Obviously, we'll take it easy. So Ishta is suggesting, how might we make education more accessible? How might we make the process of learning less intimidating? I think that's brilliant. And if we can find the answer to this and an approach, I think we will be doing really well and serving a lot of people who feel intimidated. And how might we make learning truly global and inclusive? Amazing challenge that we should take on. Klaus is talking about the very noticeable proportion of adults active in their own life. And Jerry's 8 ideas for impact on education. So Jerry, you have those in your brain already. No need to summarize those, I think. But a lot of amazing things here. And Gabriel, thank you, Gabriel, an open source platform with resources and toolkits for educators to use. Absolutely, what a wonderful tool. Edwin suggests to democratize EXO. Absolutely, and I think we're working hard on doing this, and I think we're doing well. EXO stands for Exponential Organizations, for if anybody is not familiar with this term. And the whole sprint that we are doing now builds on the Open EXO sprint methodology, and there's a book, I'll share the link to it. It's a book that shows the whole blueprint of this. We have modified this a bit for our use, but it builds on a highly validated sprint methodology that we have been using with, for several years now to transform the mindset of organizations, primarily large organizations. Tianna is suggesting to build an exponential quotient assessment framework inspired by the EXQ, for education providers in order to future-proof themselves and remain relevant in the year to come. Very interesting. And Peter, thank you, Peter. We will create a global learning community for SME managers and employees so they can continue lifelong learning and keep creating wealth, prosperity, and social mobility, facilitating peace and happiness. This is a world I want to live in. Thank you, Peter, for making this happen, and we're here to support you on that journey. Jabin says, we will create multi-sensory immersive experiences for all learners to experience their breakthroughs in learning. Wonderful. And this is where Kim Arasi, who was in our last community call, has some interesting approaches to this. And Kim is part of our community as well. And let's bring Kim in, as for this kind of initiatives. Pick her brain and let her give us the feedback and the input that could help us to accelerate this kind of initiative. Andrea, thank you for suggesting to design an education model at 21st century that can replace formal schooling. I'm on board. Let's do this. And Andrea, by the way, represents a very, very passionate, dedicated community here in Romania that wants to create a new education system that's supported by business leaders who are as passionate as I am. And it's a grassroots movement. It's absolutely fabulous what they're doing. And Andrea and her team is part of Educate4Life and going through this sprint with us. So thank you, Andrea and the team from AVE Romania for being part of this. Maria Jose, how can we discover our inner talents and passion through educational processes? Excellent, excellent. And Cosmin, hey Cosmin, good to have you here. Students learn most of what they want to learn by developing actual entrepreneurial projects. Yeah, hands-on stuff, go and do it. And Cosmin knows a thing or two about this, I can tell you. So let's learn from the people who are already doing it and help them to scale this, make it better and scale it. I think entrepreneurship is maybe not the answer to everything, but there's a mindset in creating rather than consuming that I think we all need to adopt and learn. And the only way is by doing, by pushed into experimentation and learn that way. So a lot of ideas here. Thank you so much for all of them. Keep them coming. Keep posting ideas. This never ends. It's the first sprint, but it's not the last one also. So thank you very much to everyone. Now I want to check in with Jerry now, because on my agenda at least, I'm ready to start introducing Jerry's brain and getting that fired up. And I can see thumbs up from Jerry here. That's awesome. So I just wanna share one slide before I hand over. Let me just find that here. And I was actually searching for Jerry Michalski in Jerry's brain, and new share. There we go. So here we are, Jerry Michalski, and there was a big focus in Jerry's brain on future of learning. And wow, that's also what we are discussing tonight. So Jerry, open up your mic and welcome back to the party here. So why don't you tell us about just an introduction of Jerry's brain, the work you've been doing for many years in Jerry's brain, and then we can start to slide our way into the impact.
I'd be thrilled to. Thank you, Lars. I just want to note that we've been jamming here for 2 hours and 24 minutes. So if anybody would like to stand up and shake your body a little bit and just wiggle around or raise your arms or whatever, just shake, like move just for a second, move around so that you can like let your blood flow, and remember you have a body, because what I'm about to show you is probably going to be overwhelming as well. So stretch.
I know. I did forget the break. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I cannot
You're
stop.
excited about the materials. You want us to go through all this stuff, and we're a little bit behind. So there we
I
go.
want to dive deep into this.
So I will not be insulted if you stand up and start running in place while I'm talking. So, so with that, I will explain what this thing is. And I'll just start screen sharing so you'll hear my voice over what I'm showing you. There we go. So I used to be a technology trends industry analyst, which means I wasn't a Wall Street analyst. I have no idea, and I don't care what next quarter's earnings are. I was on duty to try to help companies and governments and others figure out what's happening with technology. Is AI going to kill us or save us, for example? Or for companies, and this is back a couple years, like where should I apply AI or neural networks? What problems is it good for? What problems is it bad for? So that's what I used to do. And I did that for about a dozen years. And one of the companies that came through my office, and I estimate that there were about 4,000 startups that came through my office. The woman I was working for, Esther Dyson, was pretty famous. And they wanted to tell her about their good invention and their startup. But I was on duty, so they had to tell me, which was really fun. So I had a great 12 years doing this. So one of these little companies has this mind mapping product that you're staring at right now called The Brain. And the company now is called The Brain. If you want to go start your own brain, go to thebrain.com. And you can begin feeding a mind map that looks roughly like this. You can change the background to any color or picture you want. I have never, ever done that. So the blue background you're seeing is the blue background that The Brain came with 21 years ago. So I was on their first press tour 21 years ago, and the file that you're looking at is the same file that I started 21 years ago. So I've only ever created one mind map, and I've been tending it for 21 years. I've tried many other mind mapping tools. This is the one I like, partly because it lets me do exactly what I'm going to show you now. So Lars showed us a video earlier, and I went and quickly, before the link showed up, actually no, when the link showed up in our chat, I went and looked at it and said, oh yeah, I've got that already. So what you're seeing here is 6 problems with our school system, where when I watched it, I put it under critiques of compulsory education. It comes from the next school actually in India, which is an alternative school that does big picture learning. It was funded by the Ramniklal Sabarbai Shah Trust, which is a more complicated name than I thought I could pronounce, but I probably screwed that up. But I then debriefed, the 6 problems that they described are industrial age values, lack of autonomy, inauthentic learning, et cetera, et cetera. And in the middle of it, they mentioned the Battle of Panipat. And I went and looked in my brain, and it turns out that I had the Battle of Panipat, but I only had one Battle of Panipat in my brain. I had this one. And I'm like, well, that's 1526. That can't be right. So I went and I looked, and it turns out that there were 3 battles of Panipat that are famous. Here's the second one. Here's the third one. And the one with the years that they showed at the end was 1556. This is irrelevant to what we're talking about right now, but this to show you how my brain works, which is I saw that flash by, and I'm like, Panipat. I know I've seen that word before and done something about it. And Panipat is a town in India, which is really close to Delhi, et cetera, et cetera. So let me go back to 6 problems with our school system. The Brain is basically a software I did not create. As I said, it was a little startup that came through my office. I'm their lead user. So you're looking at the world's largest man-made brain. I have not applied to the Guinness Book of World Records, which I probably should try. But it's been really entertaining and life-changing for me to feed one mind map for 21 years. So I will just ask you, consider, do you do bookmarking in your browser? Most people tried. Do you maintain those bookmarks? Most people give up, right? And so, so I think the interesting thing here is, imagine you had the last couple decades of everything you wanted to remember curated into a common context where you could connect things up and do things, make those memories more permanent, more concrete. So for example, here's critiques of compulsory education. I have a lot of material under critiques of compulsory education, right? And I have that under critiques, which leads me to critiques of big data, critiques of Billy Collins, the poet, critiques of blockchains. So if I go to critiques of blockchains, here's a whole bunch of articles, the carbon footprint of Bitcoin and blockchain is terrible, et cetera, vulnerabilities in blockchains. But then I also have the good stuff about blockchains. So here's a whole series of things about blockchains, including articles about blockchains. People have been writing a whole bunch of interesting things around blockchain. So my role in this sprint is to be your observer, advocate, inquiry partner, brainstorming partner, anything like that. I'm as Lars and Trey and I were kind of talking about how to best help the sprint. We sort of came up with this idea that at least for me, to create a project, I have multiple project ideas in mind. I put some of them into the 8 thoughts that we just answered when Lars did the quick quiz. To get to the point where in a couple of weeks we could adopt a frame of mind of trust and abundance that I'm sort of working toward would be really, really difficult. And then I likely wouldn't have enough time to lead a team. But over time, I can sort of stand nearby and be on hand to be helpful as much as possible. You'll see that I have a strong point of view. I'm a little bit cynical about the educational system as a bureaucracy and as an institution. I posted on the chat as we were listening to Tianna, I posted that the school system gives us the modern OCD, obedience, compliance, and dependence. And I can go really deep into the history of education, and I got radicalized by this essay here. 25 years ago, my friend Doc Searles gave me a physical copy of a magazine called The Sun, which published essays and writings by its readers. And this essay was written by John Taylor Gatto, who just died a little while ago, but he was sort of an unconventional educator who taught in the New York system. And he began uncovering this idea that some people call the hidden curriculum of school. So in school, you're being watched all the time. You can never be trusted to be on your own. You need a hall pass, an excuse from your parents, a chaperone, a monitor. And one of the reasons that Gatto was getting awards for being the best teacher was that he was sending kids off to an empty classroom to do some work on their own. He was sending them out on the streets of New York to sell advertising in the newspaper that he was asking them to create in class, things like that. So I want to give you a little quick tour to a couple of spots of interest in my brain. I want to show you how to get into my brain. So the way is to go to jerrysbrain.com. You'll see a little link that says, well, let me actually show you. So here is my browser. I'm on the question that Lars was just asking us. And if I go to jerrysbrain.com, it should look like this for you as well. That map, I have a little Chrome plugin that gives me a satellite picture every time I open a new tab. That's why I had a pretty picture of a landscape there. So this is what my Jerry's Brain website looks like. If you click right here on Jerry's Brain, it should open a new tab, and then you might have to be patient for a minute because the Brain server is not Google server, so it doesn't come back as quickly as possible. I have no idea how many people it's good at serving at one time, but it should paint for you a version of what you were just looking at with really completely up-to-date information. So here it is. Unfortunately, I can't control how it comes up for you, and I hate this vertical line presentation. So go down, see this little roundabout arrows icon way at the bottom? If you click that, it changes the orientation to horizontal, which makes it much, much, much easier to see. And then this little line, you can actually grab and drag down to maximize the area of the blue mind map possible. I'm sorry, I can't do that for you when you launch into it, so just remember to do that because it makes it much easier to navigate through my brain. And then this is a completely up-to-date brain, so what's happening, what I put in every day is automatically synchronized to this. It's available for free, so I'll close this tab, but I'll go back to showing you the things in my brain that I was going to show you. But first, I'm actually going to stop the screen share and answer questions for a second, because I figure I've said a bunch of things already. So anybody with questions, ask them in the chat. I'm watching the chat, or raise your hand or hit the mic. Bueller? And I realize it's kind of overwhelming because one of the interesting things is that I've been feeding this one thing every day, and Gabriel just asked in the chat, is my brain updated daily? Like, while Tianna was talking, I had never heard, I'm ashamed to admit, I'd never heard of Project Wayfinder at the D School. So I looked it up and I added it. In fact, let me just very quickly go in and find Project Wayfinder. Which I then added, and I added, so at the beginning of this call, 2.5 hours ago, I did not have Project Wayfinder in my brain. Now I have their Twitter account, I have Patrick Cook-Deegan, who founded the project, I have the Wayfinder toolkit, which they publish openly for people to use, the purpose compass, and this whole, they have a little formula on their website that says purpose means it's meaningful to you and consequential to the world, which I've connected to an existing thought I had about how do you find your life purpose, which I have under another thought called life advice, which is actually a really good thought. This is a fun one, right? So these are the best videos, articles, tutorials. Here's something from Brain Pickings, like learnings from 9 years of brain pickings. What has Maria Popova learned from doing brain picking since 2006? So that must have been published in 2017. And here's what she wrote in that piece. Be generous, build pockets of stillness into your life. That's good life advice. So I attached it to life advice, right? It seems, when you sort of see it as a result, I think, at least for me, it seems like a pretty natural thing. And you're like, oh, that's good. I should sit and look at it. But then when you see the big cluster of things, you're like, oh my God, that's overwhelming. I can never get through this. I'm going to die. There's so many links here. But that's what happens when you have like 21 years of the best things that you've seen shared in context. So Diana asks, can we contribute to it? Only by sending me an email or any other kind of message with a link and a, hey, I looked for something and I didn't find it. Have you seen this? And all the time I get messages like that and I add them to my brain and then they show up. There's no way in the brain, the software doesn't let you add something and suggest it to me. I wish the brain were built on GitHub so that you could fork and pull, and you could basically send me a pull request. I'd say yes, it would add it to mine. You could add it to yours. Not happening. The brain is closed proprietary software, which is one of my big frustrations. Peter asks, what am I feeding it with? So notice that when I have my brain open, I'm no longer screen sharing, but when I have my brain open, well, actually, let me share it again because it'll help me illustrate what I do. So notice that I have my browser showing, like an inch on the left is my browser, and then when I have my browser open, an inch on the right is open with my brain. The whole reason for this is, and I wanted to show you this, I put Bill Damon in my brain earlier because I'd never heard of him and he's an educator at Stanford. So I basically looked up Bill Damon real quickly. I just added his name to my brain like this under the Stanford Graduate School of Education. And then I looked him up with Google. And the way I add things to my brain is I grab the little icon next to the link in my browser and I drag it, believe it or not, drag it over into the brain. And then if I already have a thought, I'm adding now that link to this existing thought. If I didn't have Bill Damon in my brain, I would go to where I want to put him, in this case, Stanford Graduate School of Education, and I would drag it just anywhere in the blue space under the current thought, and it would pick up automatically the name and the URL. And since he's William Damon and I put down Bill, I'm going to go William, parentheses, Bill, because this is just the style that I like, nickname in parentheses, and now I've basically got him in my brain in a nice way. If I found his Twitter account or other books or other things, I would add them. I usually go to Amazon, look up books, and add them as Amazon links so that anybody can go directly to Amazon from here. I'm sorry, it's Amazon. For those of you who don't like Amazon, it's a move I may regret later, but at least I've been consistent that way so that I can find people over time. And then just for fun, here's the Stanford Graduate School of Education, which is part of the Stanford School of Education, which is under Stanford University, but also under schools of education. Oh, I don't have so many here. That's weird. So here's different types of school: military schools, language schools, free schools, democratic schools. So for any of you who understand open sort of schooling, there's a super interesting thing about anarchistic free schools, democratic free schools. There's just this long, long, wonderful history, including in particular Sudbury Valley School from 1968, that are all based on trusting kids. There's Escola do Ponte from the Carnation Revolution in Portugal that comes out of Paulo Freire, I believe. Yep, here's Paulo Freire's Pedagogy for Liberation, which is all about rethinking education. Another node, and then a node that I sort of drove around but didn't go into is the future of education. So all of the things under here are ambitious ideas about how we might rethink education. So if you want inspiration, I recommend going to a node like this and just browse around. If you go to a node, click on the little icon, click on the fave icon, and it should then launch your browser to that link. Okay, and I don't guarantee that all the links are still there because I don't get rid of dead links in my brain, partly because of the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, which lets you find old dead links and see them again. I'll just stop that from loading so we can go back to questions. So URLs, Diana asked the only way to add info is under URL formats. I can add just a node. So every node doesn't have to have a URL, which would be a real limitation actually. But mostly I like URLs, and I hate resources that don't have clean, reliable permalinks. So I trust Google to maintain links for a very long time, and YouTube. I don't trust Facebook at all. And so I hate things that show up in Facebook like a really good video. I will go look it up separately on YouTube before I add the link to my brain, because I don't trust Facebook with memory for a second. But mostly I'm adding URLs. That's why I love permalinks. I think permalinks are really important. The articles about purpose were under life purpose, and I can send a couple links. What I'm also thinking is I've done, just a couple of months ago, I started a kind of a vlog show called Inside Jerry's Brain. And what I can do is I can create office hours that I can also record and publish as episodes of Inside Jerry's Brain. So I think what I'll do is I'll post those to our community chat in Educate for Life. And then anybody who wants to and has questions and wants to show up and just kick around these ideas or browse these parts of my brain or whatever, or ask questions, we'll just record that and I'll publish that out so other people can watch it later. And I think that'll serve a bunch of different purposes at once. Amy Mirren asks, do I use my brain map as a personal tool or work tool? Yes, and all of the above. It's so in my brain I have cocktail recipes, breeds of dog, I have movies I like. I have a bad obsession of watching Lionel Messi clips on YouTube. So there's a large, like a crazy large collection of Lionel Messi doing insane things in football. What other questions? So let me pause, because Lars, we may be running out of time, and you may have a couple questions.
We have time for more questions. Anybody?
Cool. By the way, one real danger of me showing, there's a couple dangers of me showing people my brain. One danger is, oh my God, who is this person? I deal with that. Another danger is, oh, I could never do this. Look how many things are in here. I'll never get there. And the brain software isn't the perfect software. I'm not recommending everybody use it, but once you have 100 things in here, it's already useful. Because part of the fun is puzzling through, okay, how do I want to represent books and authors? How do I want to represent companies, investors, employees, products, and company categories? So I had to sort that out for myself using this tool that doesn't dictate where to put anything. So the fun was creating what I call cliches around those different kinds of patterns that repeat very regularly. And if you're consistent with the patterns, you can then, zip through your brain really happily doing a whole bunch of different things, just playfully. For example, I'll find Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, I think I misspelled him wrong. There we go. Oh, DiCaprio doesn't have a space. Shoot. So here's Leo, right? He's an actor, so I have him under actors, and there's a whole bunch of actors there. He acted in The Aviator, which was directed by Martin Scorsese, is about Pan American World Airways, and it was also about Howard Hughes. It's a biopic. Here's other biopics. These are all biographical pictures of movies about people. And then if I go back to The Aviator and Scorsese, let's go back to The Aviator for fun. And this, by the way, is the Wikipedia page for The Aviator. This is Martin Scorsese, not one of my favorite directors. And here's a bunch of movies he made. New York, New York, Silence, Taxi Driver, The Departed, which is a Western. Actually, sorry, it's about Whitey Bulger, who was in the mafia. He was a gangster and informant and part of Project MK Ultra, which probably a few of you know about, where the CIA was investigating LSD. So I'll stop sharing again for a second. But what's interesting is that the world is, in fact, deeply intertwined like that. Like what I love about this tool is that it's not hierarchical, it's multi-directed, and it doesn't care about circular references. It doesn't check to make sure I'm not breaking some kind of logical thing. And it allows me to express that connectedness of everything in ways that I find really useful and powerful. Other questions? You can use it to create your own brains. If you go download go to thebrain.com, download the free personal brain version. I don't really use any features that aren't in the personal brain, in the free version. Like, you don't need to pay money for the pro version. Just try the free one. And I would love to figure out an open source collaborative version of something like the brain. So I'm a fan of a few things that the brain does, but I would prefer if the brain was a collaborative sense-making space where Edwin and Diana and Lars and Sophie and Amy and Klaus and I could all compare notes and curate spaces together and all of that. I'll say one more thing about that, which is I wouldn't want it to be like the Wikipedia, where there's a talk page behind the page that shows to everybody, and there's a group of people that have to debate every time about what gets shown on the cover page. No, 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 no. I would never add to my brain that way. I need a brain where I can curate my perspective on the world and then match it, overlay it, connect it to other people's, include theirs by reference. That would work great. And then go back to what I saw. And I'm willing to change my mind. I have a whole bunch of other things I put in there. I can export to XML and to JSON files. My brain is so big that it's problematic at that size to export. But a friend, an acquaintance I met at a recent conference is actually trying to export my brain to JSON. So if you're interested, contact me that way. I have backups in my brain. So the brain itself lets you make a backup. So that's easy. It creates a little brain zip file that is its own proprietary format. But an export is a completely different thing. So also at one point, my backups were broken. And I wound up synchronizing to the brain server that's run by the brain company, and I got all my data back. So it's kind of cool that it's out there in that way as well. But that was years ago. Music schools. Let's go to Berklee College of Music, Bink, which should be under music schools. Berklee, despite being called Berkeley, is actually in Boston. It is a music school, and so is the Juilliard, Curtis Institute. I've got conservatories under a separate thought. So here's Peabody, San Francisco Conservatory, ACT, Oberlin, Conservatory of Music, which should be under Oberlin College, which is in Oberlin, which is in Ohio. And Ohio is a Midwestern state. So here's the Midwest. So once you start feeding this and you just a little bit every day, it winds up that, that it really is wonderful. It's really helpful. So for example, here's Pete Buttigieg. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is one of the Democrats who have declared that they're running in 2020, which is part of the US election campaign. And so these are all the currently declared Democrats. I've had most of them in my brain forever, except Buttigieg is new. It turns out that his dad translated Gramsci. which is crazy. And I've got Gramsci, so I should go to Antonio Gramsci. And now I click, I just made a link, and I click to Gramsci, who is a philosopher about political philosophy, who is one of the Arbëreshe people of Albania. And so is Regis Philbin, by the way. And I don't remember putting those things in my brain.
But you have your brain, and that's pretty amazing. And it's a big help for all of us, Jerry, right? We have this resource available to our research.
One thing I want to add is that the exercise of having a memory like this has been a learning experience for me, a 21-year learning experience. And I think I need to study what that has done. Like, how has that affected me? One of the things I've realized is that when I find something that I'd like to remember, I have to switch into system 2 thinking. And here I'm talking about Danny Kahneman's system 1 versus system 2. System 1 is your reflexive impulse, like, oh no, I hate those things, or no, that's always wrong. It's your impulse. System 2 is you have to consider what, and I have to consider, is this something I want to remember? If so, where do I want to put it? Then what do I call it? Then what else is it connected to? Then, oh, now what? And on a good day, which is sort of also a bad day, that can like take me down a rabbit hole for a couple of hours of, what do you mean there were 7 crusades and like 5 inquisitions? What? And oh my God, the Borgia popes, are you serious? And like, there's like rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole because history is so fascinating, etc. And the act of thinking about it, reading about it, but then curating it also reinforces my memory. So I find that my unaided recall about a bunch of things is better than it would have been without the brain, right? So I think those are all lessons from curating a memory, a shared memory. And one of my big critiques of civilization right now is that we are amnesic. We are an amnesic society because we don't have a shared memory, and everything is info flood. Your Facebook feed, Instagram, Pinterest, your email, your texting, it's all flooding us and drowning us in the flood, and we barely have the ability to catch the good stuff and share it with each other in more of a flood. Klaus, exactly. I wish that we could, and I don't mean that everybody would be using the brain, but what if some people used Kumu, some people used MetaMapper, some people used the brain, some people used other mapping tools, but there was a protocol layer that allowed these things to see and be seen through the different tools. So I'm actually part of a group called the Digital Life Collective. If you go to diglife.com, we're working on something like that. Right this minute, it's not an official project, doesn't have funding, but the people who started DigLife are big Kumu users. Kumu is a very, very nice systems diagramming tool, not like what I do. It's different and complementary. And so one of the Inside Jerry's Brain calls I have planned in the next couple of weeks, we'll have 3 of us mind mapping the same topic, the same conversation with very different tools, and then we'll compare what we mapped and what it's good for, what it's bad for, stuff like that. So I would love to see really powerful, open, distributed mind mapping tools that let us build shared context, because we would be less stupid and we would be less open to manipulation by politicians who are busy provoking fear so that they can, run the world. Other than that, I got nothing. Other questions? Yeah, you stop me when you want.
A last question from anybody? Now that we have Jerry live here, we're fortunate to have Jerry in our community. And Jerry and Trey, and they're both introduced in a post I just put in our community, amazing and very resourceful people who have volunteered to support you guys on this journey. So I really want to express my appreciation for your support. And I've been working with Jerry on the idea of doing this that we are doing now for a while. Jerry has been an amazing support on this journey. So I couldn't be happier. MB?
It's absolutely extraordinary to be a part of all of this. There's an unprecedented story out of Canada. a commitment to arts and culture and education, starting with our government, with Pierre Trudeau and Bill Davis. And this is this disruptive group that came out of nowhere, just disrupting the classical music world, engaging audiences, using children as their incubator, feeling that it was important for them to engage their attention, not for the children to sit still and listen. They put running shoes with tuxedos, and just to put, I think, Canadian brass into a brain, with the existing brain or create a brain, is actually going to feed through to almost every country in the world, to the history, evolution of the politics, of religion, of humanity, it just in so many ways, the architecture, the buildings, education system. It's going to show why the arts, why music is important to humanity, and more now than ever, do we need to come together in humanities for sustainability, seeing what's happening to our world in many different ways. We need to come together in energies. That should be at the heart of education. Music and movement. The various countries that are on so many different stages in the evolution of connecting with the children and educating the children, and their needs are so different. A lot of what we're talking about is for the privileged. Let's speak to what the needs are, and empowering these countries and these teachers, these leaders, the children, everyone, to help us to understand what their needs are and to meet those needs. But basically, at the heart of it all, I'm saying is really music and movement that brings us together. I'm suggesting using the 50 years of the brass in the world to come together. They cross all the musical genres. Opening day would be just so honored to be a place where we can bring all of this together, and lead the world through. The place for us to drop barriers is in the nonverbal energies, in the nonverbal music. This song comes from the heart for you to be able to sing, but words can be misconstrued. When you drop that, you use rhythm, you use the nonverbal music as a place where we can all drop the barriers and come together. Trying to get music into the hands, music and movement. Some of the things that move us as humans is an initiative that's important to us. Telling this story online and in person, and then each of our very important initiatives can be attached to the PACs, the Performing Arts Centers, to the it's a different way for people to be able to experience, and it's almost like an online and in-person tour. It's a subscription series, and you can, at the art galleries, at the museums, performing arts centers. So it's around where people come together. We have that in sports, but now at the heart of all of this is the classical arts, where we come together. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
We want to share some links to the music and the and we've been talking for a while about bringing this experience to everybody. There's such an amazing story and experiences behind this, and definitely you've got a very important point for all of us to bring the arts into the design of the future of education. Thank you very much for bringing this back to us, and I know you will continue to support us and inspire us during the sprint, to stay connected with this purpose and the values and the power of music. Thank you very much for bringing this to us.
My pleasure.
Awesome. So we are coming to the end of the show. I just have a few last things to say. But first of all, I'll be checking in with all the sprint teams during tomorrow to make sure that everybody feels that they are ready to get started. Help the last parts of team formation, help maybe people get in or get out of groups, and nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings, but I think now it's becoming more clear which groups that we should belong to and where we maybe should not be so much. So there will be a few who will be moving to other groups, and I'm going to help that. And I think everybody will be super happy about, and I know everybody will be super happy about the groups that they will be working in for the duration of these 12 weeks. So, and thank you very much for playing along in these past couple of weeks of team formation. It's been super autonomous. Nobody's been guiding or doing anything. You've been kind of working your way to, with little information, to try to come together, and we are continuing to support that in the next coming weeks. If you feel that, like, you want to focus on another topic, you want to shift team, it's absolutely not too late. We're here to support you. But we have some very strong, inspired teams now in many different areas of education, the future of education. I'm super happy about this, and I look very much forward to go through this 12-week journey together with all of you. And then 12 weeks from now, we'll be sitting here again and looking back and planning what happens after then as a community. And we'll be seeing the impact that we hopefully have already been bringing to the world. And for sure, we will be very clear about the impact that we will have for the future as a community. I'm super proud and excited about this opportunity. And again, thank you all for being on board on this journey. So one last time, I'm just going to share with you what you're going to see tomorrow when you check into our courses section of our community. You will find the Educate for Life Sprint course. You just click View Course, and you'll be seeing the assignments that you as a team will be working on. And there will be information about deadlines and how you report out and so on and so forth, right? So it will be around noon Central European time. So for some of you, this will be later in the day, and for some early. So I'll send out the announcement as soon as the assignments are made available, and then you can choose to go in and study this before you meet with your teams. But I'm also checking in with all teams tomorrow through the online community, and I look forward to get in touch and get all the groups started. I just also wanted to close with Lao Tzu saying, if you do not change direction, you may end up where you're heading, right? That is a scary thought, I think. So maybe we need to change direction, and I think we are the right community and group to do that, and to help others to see how important it is to change direction, and also to be the guides in the darkness that leads us on the right new path. So let's do this. And then I'll close for today, but I'm just going to stop first before I play the last piece of music for today. I just want to ask if there are questions before we close off for today, or comments to the workshop today. You can put it in the chat box also. Thank you, Jabin. And Jared posted a link to the brain. I also posted a link to the brain in our community, so you can find that also after the call. Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, Paulina, for your words. And Majo and Amy. Yeah, 3 hours went really fast. No breaks. Sorry about that. But thank you, Jerry, for getting the blood to circulate again. All right, so I'm just going to close off now, stop talking, and play the last piece of music. I was super inspired about this piece that I'm going to share. So 10 years ago, U2 played live in Second Life, and I don't remember it. I wasn't aware that it happened. So it's not a new thing that people come online on social platforms and gaming platforms to enjoy music. It's not a new thing. Just a few weeks ago, a DJ went live in Fortnite and played for 10 million people simultaneously, all joining in Fortnite, right? And in a Fortnite game instance can host 100 people at the same time. So we're talking about 100,000 instances of Fortnite running. DJ Marshmallow, exactly. Thank you, Jerry. So I'm just going to share, it's another piece of music and another way of hanging out socially with your friends. Yeah, good point, Tianna. I'm sure DJ Marshmallow is in Jerry's brain. Otherwise, go check it out when you're doing your team research starting tomorrow. First thing, search for DJ Marshmallow. But here you'll enjoy him. And thank you, all of you, for being here. And looking forward to play together for the next 12 weeks and after. So thank you, all of you. Here we go with DJ Marshmallow. And thank you to our sponsors again. You make this possible, and you're supporting us more ways than you imagine, and you inspire us. Thank you all, and let's play the music. DJ Marshmallow.
Fortnite, what's up Pleasant Park? My name is Marshmallow and thank you for coming out today and making history with me. You guys ready? Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Let me see everybody moving!
got the windows down, we got the windows down. I'm chasing all of the colors in my head. I wanna be alive.
Go, Pleasant!
I'm living high.
Everybody doing that march walk right now. Let me see that march walk.
We're dreaming on and on, we're dreaming on and on. The stars are all around, the stars are all around. I'm chasing all of the colors in my head. I wanna be alive.
Let's go, let's go.
Body know. Whoa.
What's up, everybody? I just want to say thank you again for coming out today. This is a song I made with my friend Logic.
Yeah.
Let's turn this into a dance party. Let's go.
I work hard every day. I work hard every day. Yeah. But today is my day. It's my day. And no matter what they say, it's my day. La 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 la, yeah. Roll up to the spot, feeling real good. Think you gon' talk, you better not, my homies real hood. They say, Logic, why you do that? I don't know. Yeah, they used to be like, who that? I don't know. Now they know my name wherever I go. Used to think that's what I wanted, but now just don't know. No, I can't with that knuck if you bucking back. Yeah, I've been working, but I ain't got nothing back. Tell me the dilly now, hold up, wait, really now. All of that shit you been talking just silly now. It's as quick as you rise, just as quick as you could fall. Oh no, I can't with that at all.
Let me see everybody dancing, let's go.
I work hard every day. I work hard every day. Yeah. But today is my day. It's my day. And no matter what they say, it's my day. La 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 la, yeah.
I want everybody to fly with me right now. Who's ready to fly? Let's go.
I can fly.
I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. When the morning comes and we see what we've become, in the cold light of day we're afraid we won't wake up the fire that we've begun. Every argument, every word we can't take back, 'cause with all that has happened I think that we both know the way that the story ends. Then only for a minute I want to change mind, 'cause this just don't feel right to me. I wanna raise your spirit.
When this drops, let me see everybody doing to keep it mellow. Let me see you keep it mellow. Let's go.
I have to leave. No, that means I'll have to leave. Lately, I've been thinking. I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. So I'll go. I will go. So I'll go. I will go.
Let me see everybody clap and keep it
Lately,
mellow.
I've been thinking. I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. Even though I might not like this, I think that you'll be happier. I want you to be happier. Then only for a minute, I want to change my mind, 'cause this just don't feel right to me. I want everybody to squad up right now. Find your squad and let me see your favorite emotes. Let me see what you got. Let's go. No, that means I'll have to leave. No, that means I'll have to leave. Lately, I've been thinking. I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. So I'll go. I will go.
I just want to say thank you, Fortnite. Thank you to all the people at Epic. And thank you for you guys coming out and making history with me today. Thank you guys so much.